Well, good morning once again. I'm State Representative Darrell Metcalf from the 12th District in Butler County, and welcome to our 9th annual Second Amendment Rally, Second Amendment Action Day, our right to keep and bear arms, second to none, right? Well, we have a president who believes that he has a pen and a phone, and that allows him to violate our Constitution, our laws, and our rights. What do you think of that? We have an Attorney General Holder, who thinks that we should all have to use smart gun technology with a bracelet on our hand to be able to use our firearm. There was just a story on Fox this morning of a family who had a little baby monitoring device, and how they woke up to somebody hollering at their daughter through this monitoring device because they were able to hack into it. If it's electronic, it can be hacked. If you have a smart gun with a bracelet, the government could hack into it and shut you down. Part of the purpose of our Second Amendment was not just to ensure that we could duck hunt or deer hunt, but it was to ensure that we were a checks and balance to any tyrannical force that might attempt to take away the freedom of the people, right? Smart gun technology not only isn't viable because it's not a good technology to try and utilize, but it's only a technology that could be utilized by tyrants who want to shut down the ability of the people to defend themselves. We have an Attorney General here in our state, Attorney General Kaine. One of her first actions, unlawful actions, coming into this state was to renegotiate a reciprocity agreement with Florida. Some of us don't think she had the statutory authority to do that. When Tom Corbett was the AG, he didn't believe he had the authority under the law to change our reciprocity agreement. When she got elected, we had not changed the law. Somehow she seemed to have found the authority. I think she violated the law when she did that. She's shown a pattern of abuse, this Attorney General has, just as the President and Attorney General Holder has. They're promoting lawless behavior by people who are in office that have taken an oath to uphold and defend our Constitution, which includes our God-given right to bear arms. And not only have they promoted that type of behavior, but then it's embraced by those at the local level. In local municipalities, we have one municipality after another being encouraged by people like Mayor Bloomberg, former Mayor Bloomberg from New York, and his Mayors Against Guns, in promoting municipal ordinances that infringe on your right to bear arms and violate our preemption law in Pennsylvania and violate our Constitution. That needs to come to an end, doesn't it? We've introduced legislation. I have legislation. There's another bill to deal with preemption to try and put some additional teeth in the law. Don't you believe that if a municipality is violating the law, there should be a severe penalty for that? We also have another bill that I introduced that many of you rallied for here last year that is not dead. It's still alive. It's in Judiciary Committee currently. House Bill 357. We need to send a clear message to D.C. and to people like Attorney General Kaine that we will not stand up for additional infringements of our right to keep and bear arms. Don't you agree? Yeah! Well, you're going to hear from some of the members of the legislature today that have introduced legislation to regain our right to keep and bear arms, to regain our rights shall not be questioned under Article 1, Section 21 of the Pennsylvania Constitution. But before we get started with those speakers, I'd like to introduce a young lady named Allie Hynoski. She's 11 years old, and she's the daughter of Stephen and Monica Hynoski, and they're constituents of Representative Stan Saylor, the Majority Whip in the Republican caucus. And she's going to start off officially our celebration, our red, white, and blue celebration. Did you see some of the folks with their hats and towels? That today our theme was a red, white, and blue celebration of our right to keep and bear arms. And Allie's going to sing the national anthem for us.
Thank you. Oh, Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets spread glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
God bless you. God bless you.
Great job, Allie. Great job. We're going to have to invite you back again. That was what a great addition to our Second Amendment rally today. I'd like to now ask our Representative Rick Saccone to take the microphone.
Thank you.
Follow that.
Hello, my fellow patriots! Woo! I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for coming in this terrible weather. And from the bottom of my heart, know that I'm excited and energized to see all of us standing up for our constitutional rights. You have the right to keep and bear arms. And I'm proud to stand with you to affirm that right today. My bill, House Bill 671, we call the constitutional carry. It will place us on the offense against the gun-grabbing anti-constitutionalists in our society today. House Bill 671 will render the concealed carry permit optional for those who want to take advantage of reciprocal agreements in other states. But here in Pennsylvania, where we're an open carry state already, there's no reason we need the government's permission to put a coat over our weapon. Now, I know you've seen the news and you've seen over down in Georgia, they just passed some of the most pro-gun legislation in the country, they say. Well, there's no reason Pennsylvania should trail any state in the freedom to protect ourselves. So let's make sure that everyone in this building behind me and across this great Commonwealth knows that we are the most pro-gun state in America. Thank you, my friends, for not compromising your Second Amendment rights, and thanks for traveling from near and far to Harrisburg to have your voice heard and to let the politicians know that we will not allow them to dilute or in any way diminish your right of self-defense. Thank you, and God bless you.
You see a lot of the gentlemen that have the hats on, Second Amendment Action Day, united we stand, and we are united, aren't we? Our next speaker is a man without need of introduction, Mr. Kim Stolfer.
Hello, my fellow gun owners. How you doing? Thanks for coming, guys and ladies. A year ago, I was getting a transplant for my liver. I was missed, but I'm back. God brought me back to make sure that I can work with all of you, and I bless all of you for showing up today. But I want you to understand, we do have a right. We know it's a right. But what goes on in those doors behind us is where anti-gun groups funded by out-of-state carpetbaggers like the Joyce Foundation, which Ceasefire PA got almost $500,000 for, to take your freedoms based on lies. They call us parasites. They call us gun bullies because I stop in and want them to apply the law. Your reason for being here today is to reaffirm the rights that we fought for and our country was based in blood on. How many veterans are out there today? We didn't give up our oath. And our oath in Pennsylvania says you not only support and defend the Constitution, but legislators are supposed to obey it, not undercut it, not take it away, not limit it. We got to restore the Constitution, not allow others to take more. There's no reasonable gun laws. You want to put criminals in jail? Wonderful. We're not doing that. And they're basing their misdeeds, your freedoms, on their misdeeds. So when you talk to legislators today, you tell them, we want to get rid of the PIC system. We want a preemption law that's going to work. Yes. And we want our right to carry a firearm even when we park on employer property. That shouldn't be disarmed there either. So in closing, all I'm going to say is I'll be walking with you and I'll be fighting with you. And I thank and bless all of you again for showing up. Semper Fi, let's go get them.
Great to have Kim back. He was not able to be here last year due to his health problems, and it's good to see we've been blessed, and God's blessed us to have Kim back with us again this year. Good to have you, Kim. We have some members that are here today, as always. Many of the legislators that have been working with me and others to advance some of this legislation that Kim referenced, and Rick Saccone and others will be mentioning today. We have. They're in the tent, they're kind of in between, they're behind me, they're in the rain, they're trying to get out of the rain, just like all of you. So I wanted to mention some of those members' name, and then I'll introduce the next speaker, and then I'll mention some of the additional members also. But to start the list off, Representative Matt Baker, Representative Steve Bloom, Representative Karen Boback, Representative Michelle Brooks you'll hear from, Representative Rosemary Brown, Representative Marty Causer, Representative Jim Christiana, Representative Becky Corbin, Representative Linda Culver, Representative George Dunbar, Representative Brian Ellis, Representative Joe Emmerich, Representative Paul Clymer. I know there's some folks up from Representative Clymer's area here with us today, coming up in buses. Representative Harry Reedshaw, Representative Joe Procharka, Representative Eli Ivankovich, Representative Mindy Mee, Representative Matt Galber. I saw Representative Jared Gibbons over here, Representative Mark Gillen, Representative Keith Gillespie, Representative Maury Gingrich, Representative Keith Kreiner, Representative Seth Grove, Representative Marcia Hahn, Representative Doyle Heffley, Representative Sue Helm, Representative Dave Hickernell, Representative Lee James, Representative Rob Kaufman, Representative Mark Keller was planning being here today, Representative Jerry Knowles, Representative Bill Kortz, Representative Tim Krieger, who you'll hear from, Representative John Lawrence, Representative Greg Lucas, Representative Sandra Major, who I saw over in the tent to my right. I see Representative Dave Maloney, Representative Julie Harhart, Representative Mike Fleck, and Representative Jim Cox. And I'll have some additional members to read off on the next intermission. So our next speaker will be Representative Tim Krieger.
I guess after those last two speakers, I don't have to do anything to get you fired up. And if you aren't fired up looking at what's happening in our country, then I don't know that you're awake. If you don't wake up some mornings wondering what country you just woke up in, I don't know that you're paying attention. Look at where we are. Our families are assaulted by a profound and deep cultural confusion. We have violence in our streets, our homes, and our schools. Some think we can eradicate this evil among us by taking away the instrument. They think that the instrument is the evil, and they forget it's not the instrument. The instrument is a tool in the hands of a person who chooses evil. Some of our opponents disagree. They say that somehow that instrument is evil, and if we just take it away, we'll have peace. And we know that it's just not so. Now, despite assurances to the contrary, many of proponents of gun control are dead set on taking away, confiscating our firearms. And we know the first precondition for confiscation is registration. Some of you may know, unfortunately, in Pennsylvania, the state police maintain a registry of firearms. They've done so of handguns. They've done so for almost 20 years. Two bills I have authored, House Bills 921 and 1430, would end that practice by forbidding the state police or anyone else from maintaining a registry of firearms. And over the past year, there's been a lot of talk in Harrisburg about universal background checks. Of course, those on the left advocating universal background checks loudly profess that they have no intention of registering firearms. So I say this to them. If that's true, if they're being honest, if they're being upfront with us, where are they? Why don't they prove their sincerity by supporting House Bills 921 and 1430? What our opponents can never seem to understand is that gun control will not make us safe. No amount of legislation will protect us because legislation cannot reach the source of the evil, and that evil, in too many instances, is the human heart. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, Representative Tim Krieger. Our next speaker is State Representative Michelle Brooks.
Right. Come on, Michelle.
Good morning, everyone. We need to be fired up. I'd like to thank each and every one of you here today for your participation. Many of you have traveled a great distance to be with us in an effort to protect our Second Amendment rights. Your participation today is so very important, not only to preserving the rights our forefathers fought for, but to the democratic process itself. To those who couldn't join us today, but are active at home protecting the Second Amendment, thank you. Your calls, letters, emails regarding legislation here in Harrisburg have been vital in ensuring that we truly represent the people who sent us here. During my time in public office, whether in my home county or here in Harrisburg, I can tell you the effort to uphold and protect our Second Amendment is among the most passionate of which I have ever been a part of, and that is because of you. Standing here today, I am reminded of the words of our fourth U.S. President, James Madison, who said, "The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." You see, James Madison understood, as we do here today, that the power of this nation should be rooted in the people it represents, not in an overreaching government. As Madison noted, most countries' governments are afraid to trust their people with arms. But here in the United States of America, we law-abiding citizens embrace them. Thank you all for standing up for our liberties and our freedom that we hold so dearly. God bless all of you.
Thank you, Representative Michelle Brooks. Some of the senators that planned on being with us today, Senator John Eichelberger, Senator Chuck McElhaney, Senator Tim Sullivan, Senator Elder Vogel, and Senator Kim Ward. And I know also Senator Scott Hutchinson, and I've seen him back here in the rain under his umbrella. We also have with us Representative Stan Saylor, whose constituent you heard sing earlier, and Representative Saylor is our majority whip. We also have with us today Representative Jim Marshall, Representative Kurt Mazur, Representative John McGinnis, Representative Dave Millard, Representative Rick Marabito, Representative Donna Oberlander, Representative John Payne, Representative Joe Protarka, Representative Tina Pickett, Representative Jeff Pyle, Representative Kathy Rapp, Representative Dave Reed, who's one of our leaders from the Republican Caucus, the Policy Committee, Representative Mike Reese, Representative Brad Roy, Representative Todd Rock, Representative Rick Ciccone you heard from, Representative Tom Sankey, Representative Justin Simmons, Representative Jerry Stern, Representative Dick Stevenson, who's one of our leaders, caucus administrator, and one of our Representative Sandy Majors, I'd mentioned earlier that she's here. She's one of our caucus leaders also, our caucus chair, Representative Rosemary Swanger, Representative Will Tallman, Representative Denlinger, Representative Carl Metzger, Representative Mike Tobash, Representative Jesse Topper, and Representative Ferry was also here. I've mentioned all these representatives and senators, and a lot of meetings going on, people coming and going. That's why you're seeing people coming in and out. But all these folks indicated they planned on being here, and I've seen personally many of them here today, and I'm sure that you all have too. So appreciate the support of the members of the legislature being here today with all of the Second Amendment supporters that were able to make it down here to Harrisburg today. Our next speaker is a gentleman who just recently became an elected official in Butler County for the city of Butler. He is Mayor Tom Donaldson, and quite an upset last year. He actually, as I understand it, the woman that he beat for that seat, she had been with the Mayors Against Guns effort, and. Mayor Tom Donaldson, I'm very pleased to introduce today as being a Second Amendment supporter, and he's going to share a few words with us today. So thank you, Mayor. Please come to the microphone.
Thanks, Daryl. I want to thank Daryl for having me down here, and I want to thank everybody that's here for being here, sticking up for our Second Amendment. I resent those who want to take that right to bear arms away from us. I did run against a Bloomberg mayor, and I defeated her in a 66 to 34% landslide victory. I was fortunate enough to have time last year this time to start going door to door around the city of Butler. And one of the biggest questions asked was, how do I feel about firearms? I said, well, it's not a local issue per se, not a mayor's issue, but thanks to Mayor Stock, she made it one. I started exercising my Second Amendment rights in 1974, and I still exercise them, and I'll exercise them till the day I die. I hope it's not when they come to try and take it. I've raised 5 children. They exercise that right. And I, at the current time, have 4 grandchildren, 3 more on the way, and I hope that they all can exercise that right. Thank you for having me here, Daryl.
Our next speaker is one of my colleagues, State Representative Matt Gobler. Matt?
Thank you very much. How you doing this rainy day? How excited are you about defending your rights? That's what I like to hear. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming out and spending a day in the rain. You know there are no more effective lobbyists in Harrisburg than the citizens who are willing to travel across the state, who are willing to subject themselves to this kind of weather because you care about your rights and you're going to do something about it. Thank you very much. I'm State Representative Matt Gobler. I represent the 75th District in Elk and Clearfield counties, and I want to share with you one thought. Thank goodness. Thank goodness this is Pennsylvania. I'm proud to be a Pennsylvanian. Thank goodness we don't have the problems that are being faced by the citizens in New York State whose legislature and whose state government have decided that their rights don't matter. But that doesn't mean that we get to rest on our laurels. That doesn't mean that we get to sit here and just say, thank goodness. We need to push back. We need to always be looking to push back, and that's why I've introduced House Bill 475, the Firearms Freedom Act. We, as a state, have the right to determine our own laws in this state. We have the right to hold the federal government accountable for the Constitution that sets their rights. And what House Bill 475 says is, if a firearm doesn't cross the state line, if a firearm is built, sold, utilized in the state of Pennsylvania, then the federal government has no business enacting regulations, has no business regulating our citizens for what they're allowed to do legally. I think it is so important that we continue to push back. And why do we need to push back? We need to push back because we know that gun control creates victims. We need to remember this time and again. We're the ones that are pro-victim. Don't ever let the other side turn the conversation around on us. We're the ones that are there when terror strikes. We're the ones that are there, the law-abiding citizens, to save lives. Law-abiding citizens with firearms save lives every day. Let's not forget it. We're the ones that are pro-victims. Let's push back. Let's defend our rights. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Representative Gobler. Our next speaker, we invited after I saw him on Fox last year. He was being interviewed on Fox. It's probably on Fox and Friends when I catch most of it in the morning while I'm on the treadmill and such. But his name is Joe Junguzza, and Joe is a veteran. Joe is currently serving in the Army Reserve as a lieutenant colonel. Joe is a small business owner. So we are very thankful that Joe was able to take time out of his schedule today, because I know for small business folks and some of you that are here today, when you take time out of your schedule, you're giving up money. And that's a hard thing to do many times. You don't get those vacation days when you're a small business owner. So we appreciate all the small business owners that are here today, and especially Joe for taking time out of his schedule to come up here from Montgomery County and share with us his thoughts related to the Second Amendment. So thank you for being with us, Joe, and we'll look forward to hearing your words, sir.
I'm not an accomplished speaker, so be patient with me. My name is Joe Junguzza. Thank you. My name's Joe Junguzza, and I own a gun store. 3 years ago, my partners and I had a dream to open a business founded on the principle of integrity and rooted in the freedoms established in our Constitution. There were those who wanted to put a stop to that dream. There were those who tried to put a stop to that dream. But I did not travel halfway across the world to fight for freedom, only to come home and see my own denied. So I came here today to thank you. When I travel in uniform, people stop me and they thank me for my service. 5 minutes ago, someone did the same thing. They shake my hand, they buy me a cup of coffee. But nobody thanks you for what you do. Well, today, I want to thank you for your service. I want to shake your hand. I want to thank you for the stand that you make here today, the stand that you make every day. At West Point, we have a saying: it is always better to do the harder right over the easier wrong. I can find no better example of that principle than the people standing before me today. When you should be venerated, you are vilified. You are maligned and mischaracterized. But you stand up anyway. You stand up and count yourself patriots when your opponents would make patriot a dirty word. And for that, I thank you. But the fight is not over. For over a year, we tried to open Modern Tactical, but landlords would not return our phone calls. After the shootings in Colorado and Connecticut, they would not rent to us for who we are and what we represent. The first town we tried to open in lost our business application 4 times. Even today, online retailers block us from selling on their sites. Search engines relegate us to second-class status. But it is their right. It is a right that I fought for. No, this battle must be fought not in the courts, but in the minds of the public. It is a battle of perception. In many ways, this fight is tougher. While our right to self-defense and freedom were bestowed by our Creator, our reputation and the public's perception of us are bestowed by the media. So let us set the record straight, right here, right now. Let us take this opportunity not just to say what we are for, but why we are for it. Let us take every opportunity to let the world know us. We are not motivated by a hatred of government, but by a love of country. We are not the purveyors of violence, but the shield against it. We are not the wolf. We are the sheepdog. I get people in my store every day who open carry. I ask every one of them why they do it. I've heard a myriad of answers. But one answer that sticks out most in my mind is a young man who said he opened carries for one reason and one reason only: to educate people on their rights. He takes every opportunity to answer their questions and put an articulate and reasoned face to the rabid maniacs that we are portrayed to be. So the next time someone asks you a question about the Second Amendment, try telling them this. We do not attend gun rallies. We attend rallies for freedom. We do not carry a gun to spread fear, but to secure safety. We do not own a gun to intimidate, but to protect from intimidation. And we do this not just for ourselves, but for you as well. And maybe, just maybe, they'll thank you for it. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Excellent, Joe. Thank you so much. Thank you for your service. Thank you for being with us today. And what a motivational speech. Motivational, right? Yeah!
Joe for president.
Somebody's nominating Joe to run for president from the audience here, and Joe articulated very well what so many Americans believe and what so many Americans hold true to and hold dear to, and that's our God-given rights to defend ourselves, our property, our families, our loved ones, and our neighbors. Right? Our final speaker, before we kind of do the closing parts of the rally with the drawing that we'll have today, and I think we're going to have Allie draw the winning tickets today after our next speaker, after our final speaker. Another man who doesn't need introduction. I think he's been here for most every one of the 9 rallies we've had over the years. Really appreciate Larry Pratt coming up from down in Virginia. And he's the executive director, as most of you should know, with Gun Owners of America. So we appreciate Larry's battle at the national level and on behalf of our freedom. And thank you, Larry. We look forward to hearing from you, sir.
It's very impressive to see so many people here in the rain. That ought to tell some of the wobblies inside just how intense this issue is held, intensely is held. You know, the Brits in the 18th century were hostile to our gun ownership. They banned the importation of ball and powder, and they're still trying to disarm us. They don't have King George to try it anymore, but they did send over this guy called Piers Morgan, who also needs no introduction. And it's, according to my friend Piers, it's you who cost him his job. Well done, fellow gun owners. You know, he was just incensed with the notion that we have our Second Amendment in order to control the government, to keep tyranny at bay. And that didn't sit well with him, and he became rather abusive, I would say. But you know, the Bible tells us that that which is intended for evil, God uses for good. And that's exactly what happened when Piers Morgan misbehaved himself so much the time that I first was on his show. Our server crashed 3 times in the next day and a half. We had so many folks sign up to get our email alerts at gunowners.org that when the gun battle really came to a head following Newtown, because this was right after Newtown that I was on a show, we were able to put out an email alert. We were concerned that we hadn't heard from the NRA, that they weren't in this fight. It didn't seem to us. We couldn't see any sign. So we put out an alert saying, if you are a member of the NRA, please call this guy at this number and ask him to urge them to take a public position against the Toomey Manchin bill. Toomey is another place you can boo if you'd like. Thank you. I didn't want to run his name by so quickly. You didn't have time to respond. Well, the Toomey Manchin bill met its demise following that email. When we put that email alert out, the NRA all of a sudden said, we're about a week later, we're against it. We're going to score it as an anti-gun vote. Then, to our surprise, Senator Manchin said, "You guys have betrayed me. This is a 180. We were working together for this." The expansion of the background check. Well, it was, after all, the Piers Morgan Memorial email list that helped defeat that in a very major way. And so, Piers Morgan, I salute you.
Thank you, Larry. Larry had shared that story with me last night over dinner related to Piers Morgan, how Piers Morgan helped to build their email list at Gun Owners of America, and how that was ultimately then used to notify folks that, I guess, probably called the NRA and demanded that we send a message to Toomey and Manchin. We don't want more gun control, right? But we also were joined today by Representative Chris Sonata, Representative Fred Keller, Representative Nick Kotick, and Senator Tim Sullivan, who I'd mentioned earlier. But I saw Tim right behind me here a little while earlier. As we've been waiting in the rain here today, once we conclude the rally, as many of you know, a lot of you will be dividing up to teams with your team leaders, heading into the Capitol and working the halls, talking to legislators, educating them on the legislation you'd like to see advanced, on why you want them to defend your God-given right to protect yourself and your families and our country, right? So we have a drawing that's going to occur first before we conclude here, and who has the drawing materials? We will have the drawing as long as the individual can get here quickly, because the rain is picking up, and I'm sure folks don't want to stand the rain any longer than we need to. We had, related to the Toomey Manchin background checks, what many of you might not know is over 70 of my colleagues, Republican colleagues in the House that I talked to, over 70 of them, and some of the Democrat colleagues would have signed on but was getting a letter together. It was all Republicans that signed with me. Over 70 sent a letter to Senator Toomey and Senator Casey back before they announced the Manchin deal, before Toomey announced it, demanding that he protect our Second Amendment rights, demanding that they defend our Second Amendment rights, abide by their oath of office that Joe Junguzza took as a lieutenant colonel to swear and uphold and defend our Constitution, that I took as a veteran in the United States Army, that all of our veterans here, veterans, can you raise your hands? Thank you for your service. But we all took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. And all of us that are in office take a very similar oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. When you're a state elected official, you swear to uphold and defend the federal Constitution, our U.S. Constitution, and our state Constitution. And for me as a veteran, that's not an oath that had a limit on it. That wasn't over when I finished my service, my time of service. That's not over when I finish my work in the legislature, my service there. I think that's a lifetime oath. And for all of you that may not have had an opportunity to take it because you haven't been in the military, you haven't been in office, I encourage you as American patriots to embrace that oath. Embrace that concept of defending your Constitution. Don't you agree? Yeah. Do we have the drawing materials? Well, we're going to make the drawing at some other point, and the winners will be contacted. But we appreciate everybody being with us today. Everyone have a great day. Thanks for being here. Keep up the fight, because it don't end today. Today's another beginning. Let's go fight. Have a great day.